Reagan, and this is KRM Outdoors. I hope you enjoy our outdoor adventures. On today's episode of KRM Outdoors, we're going to go on a hunt with Dad. And later in the episode, you'll see footage from the biggest deer of my lifetime. And make sure you take time to like and subscribe. Today's hunt with Dad, we were in an elevated blind over a food plot. And it was just starting to be rut season, so we thought we would bring our buck decoy, and the buck decoy is named Bucky Jr. And after like an hour of sitting there, this little fork buck came out, and he just kept walking around, and he wasn't freaked out about Bucky Jr. at all. And we saw that he had something hanging down from his neck, and it kind of looked like he had a beard to me. But because he had that little thing, we thought he was in a fight, so we called him Scrappy. And then he just kept on staying there in the food plot. And then later that night, he came over next to us, and he saw something in the woods and ran after it. later, a little doe ran out of the woods with her tail between her legs, and then the buck came out chasing after her, and the buck just kept on running her off in the food plot, and she just kept on running away. It was kind of funny. And then the little buck got mad at the Bucky Jr. because the doe came towards the Bucky Jr. and it was funny. And then he started sneezing at the Bucky Jr. and it was really funny. And then after a while, the doe just ran off and gave up, but trying to get some lunch. And then after a while, the buck just kept on eating and eating and eating. He sat there all night till dark. Even though we didn't shoot anything, it was a good hunt with my dad and Carson. This hunt was on October 15th, and it was right after a cold front. It was my second time at a tree stand. And we had to wear a harness, and the harness brand was a Muddy youth harness, and we had to wear it so we wouldn't fall out of the tree stand and get hurt. Because otherwise my mom would be really mad if I came back in pieces. And we had to wear a little bit of heavier clothes because it was right after a cold front. And it was kind of cold as the sun went down. And as the sun went down, it got really, really cold. So I had to put on my jacket. And we hunted on the edge of a food plot of standing corn. This is my second time in a tree stand. I big 11 white buck. Because my first time I was in the tree stand, I saw a big 11 white buck. So I'm trying to get him this time. I hope you stay tuned and see if I get him. When we went hunting in the tree stand, it's very different than hunting in an elevated blind because it looks very scary when you look down. And this hunt we were using the Raven R10 crossbow, and I can't really completely hold it without anything. And it's kind of shaking if I do. It like shakes it around if I do hold it. So I have to use a Muddy camera arm to stabilize it to make me have a more accurate shot. We were sitting there as an afternoon hunt, and we were just waiting there all night with no activity. And a little later at night, as like the sun was just starting to set, there was like 3 little does. There was 2 that were little like babies, and there was 1 mama. And I asked my dad if I could shoot them, but he said no. And I'm happy I didn't, because a couple minutes later, those does got spooked and ran away, and this big buck stepped out of the path, and it was really big. It was bigger than the one I was going to hope for. So we just kept waiting and waiting, and then he came around to where I could shoot him, and we had to wait till he stopped moving. And he started eating the leaves off of the tree, and he looked at us, and his rack was so big we couldn't get a shot at him because of his rack. So we had to wait till he looked away. And then as soon as he looked away, I shot him. After we shot the deer, I was super duper excited. I was fist bumping my dad and everything. I don't know who was more excited, me or my dad. We were both so happy and we couldn't wait to go look for it. But we had to wait a couple hours and I just wanted to start getting up and dancing because I was so happy we shot him. After waiting a couple hours, we went back and went to go look for the deer. And from where I shot the deer, there was blood everywhere. There was blood everywhere and everywhere. It was so thick of a blood trail, even Reagan could have found this deer. And after looking for like 60 yards, we finally found the biggest buck of my lifetime. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below. Hope you enjoyed this episode of KRM Outdoors. Make sure you stay tuned for more videos.